3 weeks of my daughter Madison's life dedicated to planning her cousin Jessica's Sweet 16. Madison designed decorations, coordinated caterers, and created playlists despite her physical limitations. Her hands blistered from crafting personalized party favors. I spent $2,300 on deposits and supplies. Then the invitation arrived yesterday, addressed only to me. When I asked why Madison wasn't included, my sister Linda's response shattered my heart. The venue isn't really wheelchair accessible, and Jessica wants perfect photos. So we sent a special gift instead. I never thought my own sister would break my daughter's heart, especially after everything we'd been through together. I'm Barry Sullivan, 38 years old, and a single mother to my amazing daughter Madison. 3 years ago, our lives changed forever when Madison was injured in a car accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. The adjustment to life with a wheelchair was difficult, but Madison faced every challenge with remarkable courage. Before the accident, Madison and her cousin Jessica were inseparable. Born just 2 months apart, they had been more like sisters than cousins. Sleepovers every weekend, shared secrets, inside jokes that no one else understood. They had even planned to attend the same college and be roommates. But after the accident, things slowly began to change. Jessica visited less frequently, made excuses about being busy with her new high school friends, and their once constant text conversations dwindled to occasional generic messages. I tried to explain to Madison that sometimes people drift apart naturally as they grow up, but I could see how much it hurt her to lose that connection. That's why I was so excited when my sister Linda called one evening in early March. "Barry, we need your help," Linda said, sounding frazzled. "Jessica's Sweet 16 is coming up in May, and we're completely overwhelmed with planning. You're so organized, and I remember how beautiful you made Madison's 13th birthday. Would you mind giving us some guidance?" Before I could even respond, Madison wheeled herself over from the kitchen table where she had been doing homework. She must have heard Jessica's name. "Is that Aunt Linda? Is she talking about Jessica's birthday?" Madison's eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. I nodded and put the phone on speaker. "Actually, Linda, Madison is right here, and she seems very interested. Would you like to speak with her about it?" "Oh, perfect!" Linda exclaimed. "Madison would be such a big help. She always had the best taste, and Jessica has been talking about wanting something really special." Madison beamed, and I felt a wave of gratitude. This could be exactly what they needed to reconnect. Over the next weekend, Madison threw herself into creating presentation boards with different theme options. She stayed up late researching current teen party trends, making detailed budget spreadsheets, and creating digital mock-ups of decorations. I helped her arrange a dinner with Linda, Doug, and Jessica to present her ideas. The dinner went better than I could have hoped. Jessica seemed genuinely excited about Madison's concepts, especially the Hollywood glamour theme with a red carpet entrance, a photo area with a step and repeat banner, and vintage movie posters. "This is actually really cool," Jessica said, flipping through Madison's meticulously organized binder. "I love the gold and black color scheme. And the idea of having mocktails named after famous movies is genius. I figured we could do a breakfast at Tiffany's one with blue curacao syrup and Sprite, and maybe a Casablanca one with something creamy," Madison explained, her confidence growing as Jessica showed interest. Linda and Doug seemed impressed as well, commenting on Madison's attention to detail and creative ideas. By the end of the evening, they had settled on the Hollywood theme, a preliminary guest list of 50 people, and a budget of $5,000, which seemed generous enough to create something truly memorable. As we were getting ready to leave, Madison went to the bathroom, and I started gathering our things in the hallway. That's when I overheard Linda talking to Doug in the kitchen. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but Linda's hushed tone caught my attention. "This is working out perfectly," she was saying. "Madison can do all the planning and design work from home, and we don't have to worry about her feeling left out of the actual event." "What do you mean?" Doug asked, sounding confused. "Well, you know how Jessica's been lately about her image on social media," Linda continued, having Madison there in her wheelchair. "It's not the vibe Jessica wants for her Sweet 16 photos. This way, Madison gets to be involved without taking attention away from Jessica on her big day." I froze, unable to believe what I was hearing. My sister was deliberately using my daughter's organizational skills, while planning to exclude her from the actual celebration. Before I could process this, or decide whether to confront her, Madison wheeled back into the hallway, still smiling and excited about the planning ahead. I quickly composed myself, not wanting to ruin her happiness with what might have been a misunderstanding. But as we drove home that night, a seed of unease had been planted in my mind. Over the next few weeks, Madison threw herself into planning Jessica's party with incredible dedication. Every day after school, she would spread her materials across our dining room table, working for hours on various aspects of the event. Her organizational skills had always been impressive, but seeing how she adapted to work around her physical limitations was truly remarkable. "Mom, what do you think of these for the centerpieces?" Madison asked one evening, holding up a mock-up she had created. It was a miniature gold film reel with photos of Jessica throughout the years, surrounded by tiny battery-operated string lights. "They're beautiful, honey." "Jessica will love them," I said, marveling at the detail. "But these must take forever to make. Are you sure you want to do 50 of them by hand?" Madison nodded determinedly. "It's worth it. This party needs to be perfect." I had already spent over $1,000 on deposits for the venue, catering, and a professional photographer. Madison had carefully researched everything, finding a beautiful event space at the Grand Meridian Hotel that offered special rates for Sweet 16 parties. She had negotiated with caterers to create a custom menu that referenced famous movie foods while staying within budget. Everything was coming together beautifully. The DJ confirmed today. Madison told me excitedly about 2 weeks into the planning. He said he can do the special lighting effects we wanted and has all the songs on Jessica's playlist. "That's great, sweetheart. Have you heard from Jessica today? Did she confirm those final song choices?" I asked. A slight frown crossed Madison's face. "Not yet. She was supposed to call me last night to go over them, but she canceled. Said she had too much homework." This had become a pattern. Jessica had initially been enthusiastic about the planning sessions, but increasingly found reasons to reschedule or cut them short. Madison always made excuses for her, attributing Jessica's absence to school stress or teenage distractions. "I'm sure she's just busy," Madison said, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. One afternoon, I came home early from work and found Madison struggling to reach some craft supplies that had fallen on the floor. Her face was flushed with effort, and I could see she had been pushing herself too hard. "Madison, honey, you need to take a break," I said, rushing to help her. "I can't," she insisted. "The party is in 3 weeks, and I still have to finish the guest favors and finalize the photo booth props." I noticed her hands were blistered from cutting and gluing dozens of small party items. "You're working yourself too hard. Maybe we should ask Linda and Jessica to help more with the physical parts." "No, I want to do this," Madison said firmly. "Jessica deserves the best Sweet 16 ever, and I want her to know how much I care." By this point, I had spent a total of $2,300 on the party between deposits, supplies, and special orders. I considered it a worthwhile investment, not just in Jessica's birthday but in helping Madison rebuild her relationship with her cousin. I assumed, of course, that Madison would be a guest of honor at the event she was working so hard to create. One day, while Madison was at physical therapy, I decided to organize her planning materials. As I sorted through papers on her desk, I noticed her tablet was open to a social media page. Normally, I would never invade Madison's privacy, but a post caught my eye the moment I glanced at the screen. It was a private group titled Jessica's Real Sweet 16 Planning, and Madison wasn't a member. Against my better judgment, I scrolled through some recent posts. What I saw made my blood run cold. Jessica had created this separate planning group with her friends, discussing aspects of the party that Madison knew nothing about. Worse were the comments about Madison herself. "Thank God your mom found someone to do all the boring planning work," wrote one friend. "Will Wheelchair Girl be at the actual party? It might kill the vibe," wrote another. Jessica's response was what hurt the most. "No way. Mom says she's handling it. Madison just thinks she's helping because she doesn't get to do normal teenage stuff anymore. It's kind of a pity project for her." I quickly put the tablet down, feeling sick to my stomach. I debated whether to tell Madison what I'd seen, but decided to give my sister a chance to explain first. I called Linda that evening after Madison had gone to bed. "Linda, I saw something concerning today," I began, explaining what I'd discovered. "Oh, Barry, you're overreacting," Linda dismissed. "It's just teen talk. You know how kids are on social media these days, always being dramatic. This isn't just teen talk, Linda. Jessica is deliberately misleading Madison about her role in this party. Madison is working herself to exhaustion because she thinks she's helping her cousin who values her contribution." Linda sighed. "Look, this party means everything to Jessica. She's under a lot of pressure for it to be perfect. You know how teens are about their image these days. Having Madison there in her wheelchair. Some of the other kids might feel uncomfortable, might not dance, or have fun. I'm sure you understand." I was speechless. Before I could formulate a response, Linda quickly added, "I need to go. We'll talk more later," and hung up. I sat in stunned silence, unsure how to protect Madison from the heartbreak that seemed inevitable. But I didn't have to wait long for the situation to get worse. The official invitation arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. I collected the mail on my way in from work, and there it was, a thick cream envelope with elegant gold lettering addressed to Miss Barry Sullivan. Just me. Not Aunt Madison Sullivan or Aunt Family as would be customary. My stomach dropped as I opened it, hoping against hope that there was another invitation for Madison, or that her name was included inside. But there wasn't. And it wasn't. I slipped the invitation into my purse before entering the house, not wanting Madison to see it until I had a chance to speak with Linda again. Madison was in the living room, surrounded by small gift bags she was assembling for party favors. "Hey, Mom! Look what came today," Madison said excitedly, holding up a sample-completed favor bag. The custom M, Ms. with Jessica's face and 16 on them, finally arrived. "Aren't they cool?" "Very cool," I managed to say, my heart breaking at her enthusiasm. "You've done an amazing job with everything." That night after Madison went to bed, I called Linda. "We need to talk about the invitation I received today," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, did you get it?" "The printer did such a beautiful job with the gold foil," Linda replied, deliberately missing my point. "Linda, the invitation was only addressed to me. There wasn't one for Madison." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Well, about that. We've been meaning to talk to you. The venue we chose. It's not really wheelchair accessible." "What? The Grand Meridian?" "Madison specifically selected it because of their excellent accessibility. She spoke to their events manager about it. They have elevators, ramps, everything." "Well, yes, technically," Linda stammered. But Jessica was thinking about the aesthetics of the event and having to accommodate the wheelchair in the photos and on the dance floor. "Are you serious right now?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "You're telling me that after Madison spent 3 weeks planning this entire party, after I spent over $2,000 on it, she's not invited because Jessica doesn't want a wheelchair in her photos? Barry, you're making it sound so harsh. We just want Jessica's day to be perfect. You remember being a teenage girl, don't you? Appearance is everything at that age." "What exactly were you planning to tell Madison?" I demanded. "We thought maybe she could help with the setup before the guests arrive. That way she's involved, but doesn't have to stay for the actual party." I was speechless with rage. "You expect her to not only plan the entire event, but also set it up, then leave before having any fun? Like some kind of service worker? She's Jessica's cousin, not her event planner. Please try to understand," Linda pleaded. "Jessica is under so much pressure from her friends." I was about to respond when I heard a small noise behind me. I turned to see Madison in the doorway of the kitchen, her face pale with shock. She had her tablet in her lap, and I could see from her expression that she had heard everything. "Madison," I began, but she turned her wheelchair and quickly wheeled away. I heard her bedroom door close firmly. "I have to go," I told Linda curtly, and hung up. I knocked softly on Madison's door, but she didn't answer. After a few minutes, I gently opened it to find her staring out the window, her back to me. "How much did you hear?" I asked. "Enough," she replied, her voice surprisingly steady. "I didn't believe it at first, so I did some research while you were on the phone. The Grand Meridian is fully ADA compliant." They even won an award for their accessibility features last year. She turned to face me, and I saw she had been crying. It's not about the venue. They just don't want me there. I moved to her side, kneeling next to her wheelchair. Sweetie, I am so sorry. What they're doing is wrong on every level. I found Jessica's Instagram stories too, Madison continued, handing me her tablet. There were posts showing Jessica and her friends visiting the venue, testing photo spots, and discussing layout changes that Madison knew nothing about. There were comments about the secret after-party that would be way cooler than the family event. But worst of all was a conversation, where Jessica claimed Madison had volunteered to plan the party as a service project because she can't participate in normal teenage activities since her accident. I thought she was my friend, Madison whispered. I thought if I made her party amazing, things could go back to how they used to be between us. I held her while she cried, fury building inside me at my sister and niece for their cruelty. Later that night, Linda called again, but I let it go to voicemail. Her message was a rambling attempt at justification, ending with the suggestion that I still attend alone for the sake of family harmony and that we shouldn't ruin Jessica's special day over this misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. As if deliberately excluding my daughter because of her disability was something we had simply misinterpreted. I deleted the message without responding. The days following our discovery were some of the hardest since Madison's accident. For the first time since her initial recovery period, Madison refused to go to school. She stayed in her room, barely eating, alternating between angry tears and a disturbing emotional numbness. "I'm not hungry, Mom," she would say when I brought food to her room. "I just want to be alone." I called her school and explained we were dealing with a family crisis, arranging for her assignments to be sent home. I took 2 days off work to stay with her, terrified by how deeply this rejection had affected her. On the third day, my phone rang constantly with calls from Linda, my parents, and even a few extended family members. Apparently, Linda had been sharing her version of events, painting Madison and me as unreasonable for being upset about the venue accessibility issue. I finally answered when my mother called for the 5th time. "Barry, you need to be the bigger person here," my mother said, without even a greeting. "Family comes first. Jessica only gets one sweet 16. "Madison is family too, Mom," I replied, struggling to keep my composure. "Or, have you forgotten that?" "Of course not. But Madison needs to understand that Jessica deserves a perfect day. Linda says Madison can still help with setup, so she's included. Isn't that a reasonable compromise?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "No, Mom, it's not reasonable to treat my daughter like the help, like someone to be hidden away. Madison spent 3 weeks planning this entire party. I spent over $2,000 on it. And now we're being told she can work on it but not enjoy it? How would you have felt if someone had done that to me or Linda when we were teenagers?" "It's different," my mother insisted. "Madison's situation is complicated. Her situation is that she uses a wheelchair. That's it. It doesn't make her less deserving of respect and inclusion." The conversation ended badly, with my mother accusing me of being selfish and putting Madison's feelings above Jessica's once-in-a-lifetime celebration. That evening, I found Madison looking through old photo albums in the living room. It was the first time she had left her room voluntarily in days. "Hey," I said softly, sitting beside her on the couch. "How are you feeling?" "I found these old pictures," she said, pointing to photos of her and Jessica as children. "We were so happy then." "What changed, Mom? Was it me? Because of this?" She gestured to her wheelchair. "No, sweetie, never think that," I said firmly. "What changed was Jessica and Aunt Linda, not you. Some people show their true colors when faced with differences they don't understand or don't want to acknowledge." "Grandma called me," Madison said quietly. "She said I should apologize to Jessica for making a fuss and ruining her party planning experience." Anger flared inside me. "She had no right to call you. This is absolutely not your fault, and you have nothing to apologize for." We sat in silence for a while, looking at the photos. Then Madison closed the album decisively. "I don't want to go to the party," she said. "Even if they suddenly changed their minds and invited me, I wouldn't want to be somewhere I'm not truly welcomed." "I understand," I told her. I won't go either. We'll do something special together that day instead. Madison looked surprised. You don't have to skip it because of me. I know they still want you there. There is no way I would celebrate with people who have hurt you like this, I assured her. Besides, where else would I want to be but with my favorite person in the world? The next morning, Madison surprised me by getting up early and asking to go back to school. I'm tired of hiding, she explained as I helped her get ready. And I've been doing some research. She showed me several websites and forums she had discovered about ableism and disability discrimination. I'm not the only one this has happened to, Mom. There are so many stories just like mine. And I realized something. I've been handling this all wrong. What do you mean? I've been feeling sorry for myself, letting them make me feel worthless. But that gives them the power. I need to take it back. I watched with a mixture of pride and concern as Madison headed off to school that day, her head held high despite the emotional battering she had taken. Later that evening, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. Miss Sullivan? This is Taylor Walsh, Jessica's friend from school. Is Madison there? I hesitated, protective instincts kicking in. May I ask what this is about? I want to apologize to her, Taylor said, sounding genuinely upset. I just found out what Jessica and her mom did, excluding Madison after she did all that work. It's really messed up, and I want Madison to know that not all of Jessica's friends are okay with it. I called Madison to the phone, and she spoke with Taylor for nearly an hour. When she finally ended the call, there was a new determination in her eyes. Taylor told me everything, Madison said. Jessica has been lying to everyone about why I'm not invited. She told some people I declined because I didn't want to be around crowds. She told others that I was just helping as a favor but never expected to attend. That's terrible, I said, appalled at the lengths Jessica had gone to justify her exclusion. There's more, Madison continued. According to Taylor, this all started around the time Jessica began dating Zach Powell. Apparently, he's the one who convinced her that having me at the party would make it look like a charity event rather than a cool Sweet 16. He said people would be uncomfortable and wouldn't have fun if they had to worry about the girl in the wheelchair. That's disgusting, I said, feeling a new wave of anger at this boy I had never met. Yeah, but Taylor says a lot of their friends don't agree with Jessica. Some are even considering not attending the party because of how I've been treated. For the first time in days, I saw a spark of the old Madison. She wasn't just sad anymore. She was righteously angry and determined not to let this incident defeat her. That night, Madison asked me to help her start a support group for students with disabilities and their allies at her school. She began drafting an email to her guidance counselor about it. Watching her channel her pain into something positive made my heart swell with pride, even as it ached for what she had endured. The next day, I attended a parent support group meeting I had found online for families of teenagers with disabilities. Sharing our story with people who truly understood was incredibly healing. Several parents offered advice based on similar experiences, and one mother in particular, Susan, whose daughter had been using a wheelchair for 10 years, gave me perspective I desperately needed. You can't change how others respond to your child's disability, Susan told me, but you can model for your daughter how to stand up for herself with dignity. This won't be the last time Madison faces discrimination, unfortunately. Teaching her to advocate for herself now will serve her for life. As the party date grew closer, the pressure from family intensified. Linda sent increasingly desperate texts, alternating between guilt trips and false promises that of course Madison is welcome without ever addressing the real issues. My parents called daily, insisting I was tearing the family apart over nothing. Even my brother Jack, who lived across the country and had barely been involved, called to suggest I was overreacting. But Madison and I stood firm. We had decided together how we would respond to this situation, and no amount of family pressure would change our minds. What if we sent a gift? Madison suggested one evening, about a week before the party. Not because Jessica deserves one, but because it would make a statement. We were sitting at the kitchen table, finally eating a proper dinner together after days of emotional turmoil. Madison had been making remarkable progress, drawing strength from her research on disability rights and the new friends she was making through online support groups. What kind of gift did you have in mind? I asked, intrigued by the sudden spark in her eyes. Something she can't ignore. Something that makes her and everyone else at that party understand what she did. Over the next few days, Madison and I brainstormed ideas. We wanted our response to be educational rather than purely vengeful, something that would make a point without stooping to their level. The plan began to take shape as we considered what would have the most impact at a Sweet 16 party full of teenagers. "I want to create a special photo album," Madison explained, sketching her idea. "On the surface, it looks like a beautiful gift commemorating Jessica's birthday and our relationship. But when you look closer, it reveals the truth," I finished for her, understanding where she was going with this. We spent the weekend gathering materials. The front of the album would be elegant, matching the Hollywood glamour theme Madison had designed, with Jessica's name in beautiful gold lettering. Inside, it would begin with childhood photos of the girls together, showing their close bond through the years. As the pages progressed, it would transition to screenshots of the party planning process, Madison's detailed designs, the vendor contracts she'd negotiated, the custom decorations she'd created by hand. Interspersed would be screenshots of Jessica's hurtful social media posts and texts, revealing the truth of how Madison had been used and discarded. "And with the photo album, we'll include a USB drive with a slideshow," Madison continued, her organizational skills now channeled into this new project. "It will have videos of me working on the party preparations, time-lapse footage of the hours I spent making decorations, and the actual evidence of the venue's accessibility features." The final touch would be a heartfelt letter from Madison, explaining how the exclusion had made her feel, written not with anger, but with honest emotion, and a call for awareness about ableism. But how do we make sure people actually see it? I wondered. Linda or Jessica might just hide it away if they realize what it contains. That's when Taylor became an essential part of our plan. Since reaching out to Madison, she had become increasingly uncomfortable with Jessica's behavior. When Madison shared our gift idea with her, Taylor immediately offered to help. "Sweet 16s always have a big moment where the birthday girl opens presents in front of everyone," Taylor explained during a video call. "I'll make sure your gift gets included in that pile, and I'll create enough of a scene that she has to open it right then." As we worked on the photo album and slideshow, other allies emerged. 3 more of Jessica's friends contacted Madison after hearing about the situation from Taylor. They shared additional screenshots of conversations where Jessica and her boyfriend Zach had made disparaging comments about Madison's disability. While painful to read, these became powerful additions to our evidence. Madison's guidance counselor, Miss Reynolds, had not only approved the support group idea, but had also connected us with an attorney specializing in disability rights. The attorney confirmed that what Linda and Jessica had done could potentially violate disability discrimination laws, especially since the venue was fully accessible and Madison's exclusion was solely based on her disability. "I don't want to sue them or anything," Madison told me after our consultation. "I just want them to understand they can't treat people this way." As the project took shape, I noticed a profound change in Madison. The confidence that had been shattered was returning stronger than before. She was channeling her hurt into something constructive, reclaiming her power in a situation where she had been made to feel powerless. 2 days before the party, we finished our gift. The photo album was beautiful yet devastating in its honesty. The slideshow was powerful, showing Madison's dedication alongside Jessica's betrayal. We wrapped everything in elegant paper that matched the party theme, with a card addressed from both of us. "Are you sure about this?" I asked Madison as we looked at the completed package. "It's not too late to change your mind." "I'm sure," Madison said firmly. "This isn't about revenge, it's about truth. Jessica deserves a perfect Sweet 16? Well, perfect shouldn't mean excluding people because they're different. Perfect should mean everyone feels valued and included." The night before the party, I received a final voicemail from Linda. "Barry, please be reasonable. It's not too late for you to come tomorrow. Jessica is very hurt that her favorite aunt might miss her special day. I know we've had our disagreements, but family should come first. Call me back so we can sort this out." Not a single mention of Madison. Not a word of apology for the pain they had caused. Just more manipulation and guilt. I deleted the message without responding. That evening, Taylor came by to pick up our gift, promising to make sure it was opened at the perfect moment. As she was leaving, she paused in the doorway. "You know," she said to Madison, "Jessica's been telling everyone that half her friends are only coming because they feel sorry for her after you tried to take over her party. But the truth is, a lot of people are really uncomfortable with how she's treated you. Some are only going because their parents are friends with your aunt and uncle." After Taylor left, Madison turned to me with determined eyes. "Tomorrow, while they're having that party, let's do something amazing. Something that reminds me of everything I can do, not what I can't." "Anything you want," I promised. "The day is ours." We stayed up late planning our alternative celebration, both of us feeling a weight lifting as we took back control of the narrative. The painful chapter wasn't over yet, but for the first time, I truly believed we would emerge from it stronger than before. The morning of Jessica's party dawned bright and clear. Under different circumstances, Madison would have been up early, rushing around to oversee final preparations and ensure every detail was perfect. Instead, we enjoyed a leisurely breakfast and prepared for our own special day. "Are you nervous about the gift?" I asked Madison as she applied mascara, getting ready for our outing. "A little," she admitted. "But mostly I feel free. Like no matter what happens with the gift or how they react, I've already taken back my power by not letting their cruelty define me." We had decided to spend the day doing things that celebrated Madison's capabilities, rather than mourning what she had lost. Our first stop was an adaptive rock climbing program Madison had wanted to try for months. I watched with tears of pride as she conquered the climbing wall, her upper body strength and determination allowing her to reach heights that many able-bodied beginners couldn't manage. "Did you see that, Mom?" she called down, beaming from near the top of the wall. "I made it all the way up." "I saw. You're amazing." I cheered, snapping photos to commemorate the moment. After climbing, we had lunch at an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place where Jessica would have wanted to take Instagram photos. Madison ordered confidently, chatting with the waiter about menu recommendations, fully comfortable in the space. As we enjoyed our dessert, Madison's phone dinged with a text from Taylor. "They're setting up for the party now," Madison read aloud. "Everything you designed looks incredible. The coordinator keeps telling everyone how impressed she is with Jessica's vision for the event." I shook my head in disgust. "Of course Jessica is taking credit for all your work." "It doesn't matter," Madison said, surprising me with her serenity. "I know what I created, and soon everyone else will too." Throughout the afternoon, Taylor sent updates, guests beginning to arrive, Jessica making a grand entrance down the red carpet Madison had suggested, the DJ playing the custom playlist Madison had carefully curated, the caterers serving the themed foods Madison had selected. Around 6 o'clock, while Madison and I were at the theater enjoying a movie, Taylor sent a message that made my heart race. "Gift opening, starting soon. Operation Truth is about to commence." Madison squeezed my hand in the darkened theater. "This is it," she whispered. We had strategically chosen a movie that ended at 7:30, knowing the gift opening would likely happen around 7. This way, we wouldn't be obsessively checking our phones during the crucial moment. When we emerged from the theater, both our phones were flooded with notifications. "Taylor's trying to FaceTime us," Madison said, her voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. We hurried to a quiet corner of the lobby, and Madison answered the call. Taylor's face appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of shock and vindication. "You guys won't believe what just happened," she said. Her voice hushed as she appeared to be in a bathroom stall. It was even more dramatic than we planned. According to Taylor, our gift had been placed with the others, but Jessica's boyfriend Zach had noticed it and become suspicious. He tried to hide it away, telling Jessica it was probably just some boring family gift that she could open later. But Taylor had created a scene, loudly asking why Jessica was skipping Madison's gift when Madison had planned the entire party. That caught everyone's attention, Taylor explained, especially since Jessica had been bragging all night about how she designed everything herself. Jessica, put on the spot, had no choice but to open our gift in front of everyone. Her initial reaction to the beautiful album cover was positive, exclaiming over how it perfectly matched the party theme. Then she opened it and saw the first few pages of childhood photos. She actually got emotional at first, Taylor continued. Said something about missing the old days. But then she turned the page and saw the planning documents and the screenshots. Jessica's face had apparently drained of color as she flipped through more pages, seeing the evidence of both Madison's work and her own betrayal laid bare. When she got to the USB drive labeled Play Me, Zach had tried to grab it away, but Jessica's father, Doug, who had been watching with increasing concern, insisted on seeing what was on it. "Your Uncle Doug seemed genuinely shocked," Taylor said. "Like he hadn't known the full story of what happened. He's the one who plugged the USB into the laptop connected to the projector, saying he wanted to see what his niece had created." The slideshow played on the big screen that had been set up for a photo montage later in the evening. It showed Madison working tirelessly on party preparations, interspersed with screenshots of Jessica's hurtful comments and evidence of the venue's wheelchair accessibility. It ended with Madison's letter, which Doug read aloud, his voice reportedly growing increasingly disturbed as he realized the depth of the deception. When he finished reading, the room was completely silent, Taylor said. Then Jessica's grandmother, Mrs. Walsh, stood up and said she was leaving, that she couldn't be part of celebrating someone who would treat family with such cruelty. That had apparently opened the floodgates. Nearly half the guests, including several of Jessica's school friends and many adult family members, had gathered their things and left. Those who remained were divided between those supporting Jessica and those who stayed out of obligation but were clearly uncomfortable. "Linda is freaking out," Taylor continued. "She keeps trying to convince people it was all a misunderstanding. Jessica locked herself in her room upstairs at the venue. And Zach is telling everyone you guys doctored the screenshots out of jealousy. But no one's buying it," she added with satisfaction. "Not when they can see all the evidence right in front of them. Plus, like 5 different people recognized your handwriting on the place cards and design elements, since you made them all yourself." As Taylor finished recounting the events, I looked at Madison, worried about how she might be processing this. To my surprise, she didn't seem vengeful or even particularly satisfied. She looked thoughtful, almost sad. "Thanks for letting us know what happened, Taylor," Madison said. "And thank you for standing up for me. It means more than you know." After ending the call, we sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Madison spoke. "I thought I would feel happier about this," she admitted. "But mostly I just feel sorry for Jessica. Sorry that she cares so much about appearances that she threw away our friendship over it." I hugged my remarkable daughter, once again in awe of her maturity and compassion. "That's because you're a better person than they are," I told her. "You fought back not out of vengeance, but out of self-respect. There's a big difference." As we drove home, Madison's phone continued to buzz with messages from people who had been at the party. Some were apologies from guests who claimed they hadn't known the truth. Others were from family members expressing their shock and support for Madison. Even a few of Jessica's friends reached out, distancing themselves from her behavior and asking if Madison was okay. "I never expected this," Madison said, scrolling through the messages. "I just wanted Jessica and Aunt Linda to acknowledge what they did. I didn't mean to destroy the whole party." "You didn't destroy anything," I assured her. "They did that themselves with their actions. All you did was bring the truth to light." When we arrived home, there were several voicemails waiting. My parents, apologizing profusely for not believing us. My brother Jack, expressing his outrage at Linda's behavior. Even Doug, Jessica's father, had called. His voice strained as he said he needed to talk to us about making things right. Noticeably absent were any calls from Linda or Jessica themselves. Madison and I made hot chocolate and sat on the back porch, looking at the stars and processing the day's events. Despite the drama unfolding across town, we both felt strangely peaceful. "No matter what happens next," Madison said, "I'm glad we did this. Not just because of how it affected Jessica's party, but because standing up for myself made me feel strong again." I put my arm around her shoulders. This child who continually amazed me with her resilience. "I'm so proud of you. Not everyone has the courage to speak their truth, especially when it would be easier to stay silent." As we sat together, my phone buzzed with one final update from Taylor. She had sent a photo of the nearly empty venue, decorations Madison had designed, hanging above abandoned tables. The caption read, "The perfect party nobody stayed for, justice served." In the weeks following Jessica's disastrous Sweet 16, our lives underwent a significant transformation. The first signs of change came the very next morning, when my phone rang at 9 a.m. It was Doug, Jessica's father. "Barry, I owe you and Madison an enormous apology," he began, his voice heavy with regret. "I had no idea the extent of what Linda and Jessica had done. I knew Madison had helped with planning, but I was told she declined to attend because large gatherings were difficult for her since the accident." "That was never the case, Doug," I replied calmly. "Madison was explicitly excluded because of her wheelchair." "I know that now," he said. "And I'm ashamed I didn't question things more thoroughly. Linda and I have had some very difficult conversations since last night. I want you to know I don't condone what happened, and I'm taking steps to make sure Jessica understands the seriousness of her actions. It was a start, but not enough to heal the deep wound that had been inflicted on Madison. Still, I appreciated that at least one adult in the situation was taking responsibility. The social fallout for Jessica was immediate and severe. According to updates from Taylor and other friends, Jessica's social standing at school had plummeted. Many of her friends were openly avoiding her, uncomfortable with being associated with someone who had displayed such blatant discrimination. Linda was experiencing similar consequences among the adults in our community. Several of her close friends, who had been guests at the party and witnessed the slideshow, stopped inviting her to social gatherings. The PTA committee she had chaired asked her to step down, citing concerns about her alignment with the organization's values of inclusion. For us, however, life was moving in a positive direction. Madison's support group for students with disabilities was approved by the school administration and quickly gained members. What had begun as a response to her own painful experience was becoming a valuable resource for others facing similar challenges. "We had 12 people at our first meeting, Mom," Madison told me excitedly. "Not just kids with physical disabilities, but also some with learning differences and anxiety disorders. Everyone had stories about feeling excluded or misunderstood." "That's wonderful, honey," I said, genuinely happy to see her channeling her experience into something constructive. "You've created something really important." And guess who came to me for advice yesterday? Ella Thompson. Her cousin has cerebral palsy and is coming to visit next month. She wanted suggestions for making her birthday party accessible and inclusive. This was perhaps the most meaningful outcome of our stand against discrimination. Not only was Madison healing, but she was helping create ripples of change throughout her community. About 3 weeks after the party, Madison was doing homework at the kitchen table when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jessica standing alone on our porch, looking nervous and uncomfortable. "Is Madison home?" she asked quietly. "I'd like to talk to her, if that's okay." My protective instincts flared. "I don't think that's a good idea, Jessica. Madison has been through enough." "Please, Aunt Barry," Jessica pleaded, her eyes filling with tears. "I know what I did was terrible. I just want a chance to apologize in person. Dad doesn't know I'm here. I took the bus." This last detail surprised me. Jessica, who typically refused to use public transportation, had made the 45-minute bus journey to our house alone. "Wait here," I said finally. "I'll ask Madison if she wants to see you." I explained the situation to Madison, making it clear that she was under no obligation to speak with her cousin if she wasn't ready. Madison thought for a moment, then nodded. "I'll talk to her. But I want you to stay with me." I led Jessica into the living room, where Madison was waiting. The contrast between the cousins was striking. Jessica, usually so confident and polished, looked disheveled and small. Madison, who had been so broken just weeks before, sat tall in her wheelchair, composed and self-assured. "I'm sorry," Jessica began, her voice cracking. "What I did was horrible. There's no excuse." "Why did you do it?" Madison asked simply. Jessica looked down at her hands. "At first, it was Zach," he said. "He said having you there would make me look bad in front of his friends. That people would think I was only including you out of pity. And I was stupid enough to care what he thought. But it wasn't just him," Madison pressed. You said those things about me on social media before you even met him. Jessica nodded, tears now flowing freely. I know. I got caught up in trying to be popular, trying to fit in with a certain crowd. After your accident, some of the girls I wanted to be friends with would make comments about how hanging out with you would be a downer. And instead of defending you, I started to distance myself. It was easier than standing up to them. Do you know how much that hurt? Madison asked. Losing my ability to walk was devastating, but losing my best friend, my cousin, who was like a sister, that hurt even more. Jessica sobbed openly now. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. After everyone left the party, I started really thinking about what I had done. Dad showed me all the work you had put into planning everything. He made me understand how cruel I had been. What about your mom? I asked, still angry at my sister's role in the situation. Jessica looked uncomfortable. Mom and Dad have been fighting about it. Dad says she encouraged my worst behavior by helping me exclude Madison. Mom says she was just trying to give me the perfect party. There's nothing perfect about discrimination, Madison said firmly. I know that now, Jessica acknowledged. And I want you to know that Zach and I broke up. After the party, he kept saying horrible things about you, calling you names for ruining everything. That's when I finally saw who he really was. Who I was becoming by being with him. The conversation continued for over an hour. Jessica's apology seemed genuine, and Madison listened with remarkable composure. They didn't end with hugs or promises of an instantly restored friendship, but there was a sense of closure, a first step toward possible reconciliation. After Jessica left, I asked Madison how she was feeling. I don't know if we'll ever be as close as we were, she admitted. But I'm glad she came. It helps to know she understands what she did wrong. In the months that followed, Madison continued to grow from the experience. Her support group expanded to include students from neighboring schools. She was invited to speak at a district-wide training for teachers on creating inclusive classroom environments. The local newspaper even featured her in an article about young advocates making a difference. Linda eventually called to apologize as well, though her apology was more focused on the misunderstanding and family harmony than on acknowledging the discrimination. Madison accepted the apology graciously but maintained healthy boundaries with her aunt. Perhaps the most beautiful outcome came 6 months later, when Madison received a call from Carla, a freshman who had recently joined her support group. Carla had been using a wheelchair since birth, due to spina bifida. Madison? I need your help, Carla said nervously. My birthday is next month, and my parents want to throw me a party. But I've never had a real birthday party before. No one ever invited me to parties, and I guess I just assumed I couldn't have one of my own. Could you help me plan it? The joy on Madison's face as she agreed to help was indescribable. She threw herself into planning Carla's party with the same enthusiasm she had once dedicated to Jessica's, but with a crucial difference. This was a celebration explicitly designed to be inclusive and accessible for everyone. When Carla's party took place, it was everything a teenage celebration should be: fun, inclusive, and centered on friendship. Watching Madison guide Carla through her first real birthday celebration, seeing the younger girl's face light up with joy at being the center of attention for all the right reasons, I knew that our difficult journey had led us exactly where we needed to be. The painful experience with Jessica's party had transformed into something powerful: a platform for change, a voice for inclusion, and ultimately, a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life. In standing up for herself, Madison hadn't just salvaged her own dignity. She had created ripples that were changing our community for the better, one inclusive celebration at a time. Have you ever had to stand up against discrimination, whether for yourself or someone else? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most important victories. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and courage. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message of standing strong in the face of exclusion, please share this video with them. Thank you for listening. And remember, no one has the right to make you feel less valuable because of your differences.